So if you want to make music for your game, there's a billion different ways to go about it. And there's so many different programs to help you with it. Today we'll be looking at one that is super quick and easy to use. It's called Bosca something. It's a great tool. I've used it for a lot of game jams. So let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, go to boscaceoil.net. I will have a link in the description to those of you who don't want to spell that. Here you can choose between the online version or downloading to your computer. I find the online version works pretty well, but I always like having it on my system. Let's hit download, choose a platform, and it's going to start downloading. On Windows, it will download as a zip file, so simply unzip that and you should get a folder with an exe that we can go ahead and open up. So here's what it looks like. Some people get a bit confused about the interface, but let's just start from the beginning. Let's begin by hitting New Song. We then choose the BPM, which is our tempo. I'm going to set this down to 80. We can also select how many notes we want to make up a pattern. What we're looking at here is one pattern. And inside of a pattern, we can place notes. So here's the amount of notes that will make up our pattern. And the small number is how many notes we want to make up a bar. So if we change this to say 8, you can see that we now have 2 bars of 8 notes each. Most songs are written in 4/4, which means that we will have 4 notes, each with the length of 1/4 a bar. So we'll just leave that at 4/16. And now we can start placing notes by simply clicking and dragging. You can start and pause playback by hitting the space key. And you can remove notes by right-clicking. If you want to control the length of your note, we use the scroll wheel. Some people can find it really daunting to have all of these different options. Well, the music that we normally listen to is set in a certain scale. We can think of a scale as a selection of some of these notes that go well together. And we can define a scale by going to the bottom right corner and first selecting a key. This is going to be the base note for our scale. Then we can choose what scale. Most of the music that we listen to are either set in major or minor. Major often giving a happy feel and minor more of a sad feel. But there are lots of others to choose from, like blues and all of the pentatonic scales, along with some more exotic ones. We'll just set ours to major. And you can see now that it's really narrowed down the possibilities that we have in terms of notes. And so now we should be able to just go nuts placing notes along the scale and have it sound okay. So let's make a short song. I'm going to use my scroll wheel to make a bigger note. I'm then going to create a C chord, that's C, E, G. I'm then going to make a D minor chord, that's D, F, and then A. Let's follow that up with a G, that's G, B, and D. The last chord here is pretty stretched out from the rest of them. And in general, it tends to sound better if chords are close to each other. We can actually just take the G here and raise it to the octave above. So we simply go and select the G up here. Now the notes are much closer and we can have a listen. So the sound that we're currently using is really bad. Let's go into Instrument, and here we can change the sound of our instrument. This is a tiny bit weird because the first tab here allows you to choose an instrument, and then the second one allows you to choose a sound. However, for the instrument MIDI, which is not actually an instrument but a technique for triggering audio, well then in here we have different categories as well. So just remember that you can always go into MIDI to get more options. I just want to hit the plus sign here in order to cycle through. I think this sound is pretty good. However, it's a bit too clear on the high notes. To get rid of those, we can use this low pass filter. If I play and start adjusting this, you can hear that we can cut off a bunch of frequencies for the sound. And we can do this for any instrument. So when you've chosen a sound that you're happy with, let's go ahead and add another instrument. To do that, we hit Add New Instrument. For this one, I want a bass. So let's go and change the instrument to a bass. And I just want to use the analog bass. Notice how you can also fine-tune the volume of each instrument over here. However, I don't want to write my bass line on top of our chords. So let's go into Arrangement, and here we can see how we can combine different patterns in order to make up our song. We have our first pattern here, which is our chord progression. We can then hit Add New, select the new pattern, click on the new pattern to select it, and you can see our color changes. We can also see that at the bottom left here, this pattern is using the analog bass, but we could easily have the second pattern use the electric piano as well. So we can always swap between those down here. You'll notice that if you place a note and hit play, it's not playing. The reason why is that we also need to insert our pattern into the arrangement. So let's start by only playing the chords. Let's then play both the chords and the bass. To copy the chords, we can simply drag on them, and then we can go from there. But again, if we hit play, it's just gonna loop the first chord. That's because down here you can see what part of the song we currently want to play. We can click on a particular bar, or we can click and drag to play a longer part of the song. So in our case, let's just click on the second bar here so we can hear what our chord will sound like with our bass. So our bass is currently playing a really high note. This is not really what we're going for. Well, you can navigate through tone height by going to the right and pressing up or down. Or you could use WS or even the up and down arrow keys. I always just have my hands placed on the keyboard ready to press W and S. Let's now remove this note and let's try placing one down here. That sounds a lot better. Also, remember to change the scale for this instrument as well. So we'll set that to major. So let's write our bass. So here's what mine sounds like. Let's add a melody on top. Let's go instrument, add a new instrument. This could definitely be a chiptune, and let's just start with the square wave. Now let's go back into our arrangement. Let's add a new pattern. It's automatically selected the square wave, so that's good. Let's make another duplicate of our chord and of our bass. And let's now add this new pattern on top. Let's also make sure to preview that region and change the scale to major. Also, when listening through the song before, I noticed our chords were a bit bright. Let's select the pattern and let's maybe shift these an octave down. We could go and write all of the chords again, or we could use the plus and minus here at the bottom. So our first chord starts at the C. Let's then hit the minus key until we get to the lower C. And let's now have a listen again. That's so much better. Alright, so let's construct a melody. We could definitely add some more texture to this. So I've gone ahead and added an extra layer to this melody. I definitely like this, however the melody is currently taking over the whole piece. So let's go into the instrument, let's try and play around with the sound. So I really like the dual square for this one. Finally, let's add some drums. Let's hit add new instrument. Let's choose drum kit. I think we'll just go with the simple drum kit. Let's then go under the arrangement. Let's add a new pattern. Let's also drag this in. Notice that we don't have any scale controls here. That's because the different notes map to different drums. So we have 3 different bass drums, 2 snares, 2 hi-hats, and a crash. Let's start by adding in some bass drum. Let's also throw in a snare. And the hi-hat here can be pretty dominating, but I definitely want to have some in there. I'll even throw in a crash on the 4. Finally, we probably want to add some variation to our song. Because we're simply reusing the same patterns, this will quickly become very repetitive. But the program actually makes variation really easy to do. Let's add a variation to a melody. To do that, instead of simply clicking and dragging, we'll use the middle mouse button and then drag. Now it's created a duplicate of that pattern, and we can go in and edit specific notes. Let's also bring over all of our other tracks, set the playback to this particular bar, and just change around a few things. Even though almost all of our elements are the same, having just the melody vary will really help keep things interesting. So now let's listen to our entire arrangement. Awesome! From here on out, it's just about adding more patterns, creating more variation, and combining different patterns in order to create new interesting results. Also, whenever you're doing a song that is based on patterns like this, it's a good idea to throw in a break once in a while. Or maybe even a contrast piece where something completely different happens. I also just want to show you that if you go to Advanced, you can actually add swing to your sound. Now this is probably going to sound horrible for our song, but if you're going for that swing jazz feel, try bumping this up. It's not great for this one. Finally, to export your song, go to File, Export, and here we can choose between a WAV file, which is an audio file, or a MIDI file if you want to load it into a MIDI editor. If you want to import this into a game engine, you would probably select the first one. It's then going to play through your entire song while it's exporting. and at the end we can choose where to save it. Let's hit save, and we now have a sound clip that you can share with your friends or throw into a game. That's pretty much everything for Bosca Ceoil. I just want to leave you with one very important note, and that is to always remember to save your Ceoil file and do this a lot of time while making it. So this is the project file that you can then later load up. Make sure to do this because for some stupid reason this program will close if you click on something wrong, it will create a new song and sometimes might even crash. And it's not gonna prompt you or anything, it just does so. I've lost so much work because I forgot to save. So please do that. That's also the only issue I've had. Other than that, have fun guys. That's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future one. Also, if you make some music using this software, make sure to post it in the comments below. I would love to have a listen. Other than that, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video. Thanks to all of the awesome Patreon supporters who donated in June, and a special thanks to Hans Hoftun, Commander Firestone 38, Will Goat, Jesper Mikkelsen, Thomas Vorley, Stone Gamer, Cyborg Mommy, Jason Latito, Derek Heemskirk, Faisal Marify, and Peter Locke. If your name is not on the list, I will make sure to include it in videos later this month and the next month as well. Thanks a lot guys.